Okay, cool. So in terms of like how you just think you deliver your rowing stroke, like what is your like philosophy behind it? Like how do you just execute your stroke?
Yeah, so to me there was three things that I thought were most important. First one is, and they're not in levels of importance, they're just three things. The first one is to try and have the longest amount of time driving as possible. So I don't mean necessarily rowing the longest stroke, or it's part of that, but making sure that the amount of time you're driving as quickly. So it was never about trying to get my legs down as quick as possible or getting my blade through the water as quick as possible, but more making sure I've gripped onto something and I'm really levering myself past it. That was number one.
So you can really see this really clearly in Jack's stroke by how long he keeps his arms straight for. So again, he gets that connection, not getting a quick connection, but not overworking it. And then he really keeps his arms straight for a really long time through the drive. So he's just really driving that boat, and then not pulling too early on the arms and just losing that connection. So demonstrated really, really clearly here. And yeah, a really, really good point from Jack.
The second one, for me, I always thought about trying to get the really biggest peak force in the middle of the drive. So that was like when I kind of opened my back in the stroke, trying to really feel that happening whilst my blades were kind of perpendicular to the boat, so that my biggest power was really moving the boat forwards.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people can, well, when they see Jack rowing, it can often look quite almost tuggy with the arms, when that's really sort of not the case. And what Jack was really talking about there really emphasised actually where he's sort of trying to push with it. Is that really powerful hip opening as those blades sort of come to that 90-degree point. And just, again, a really interesting point from him about where you should be pushing in the drive phase to really maximise that boat speed and go as fast and efficiently as you can. So in reality, it's not tuggy, it's just opening those hips up really forcefully at that perfect time in the stroke.
And the other thing was, and I think this was the most important actually, was on the recovery, trying to make sure I didn't stop the boat. It was like really keeping an eye on the stern and making sure that when I was sliding up, or I tried to think of it as bringing my feet towards me rather than sliding towards them, and I'd watch the stern and try and make sure it didn't stop or dip. And a way I used to work on this with my coach as a junior was by getting a hose pipe taped onto the stern of the boat, and you could then, when you're rowing, you could watch the water shoot up and you could kind of minimize how much it dripped and just play around with different ways to kind of do that recovery to keep the boat moving. And I think that made a big difference. If you can not be losing sort of a foot each stroke over 200 strokes, that's huge.
So once a week I do a live stream coaching call. It's just in the Facebook group, which is in the link in the description below. And basically you post your videos, your questions, it can be anything. It can be rowing on the water, rowing on the ergo, it could be a power clean, it could be a bench press, it can literally be anything sort of training related. And I'll just go through that quickly on a live stream, and you can get some really high level feedback for it. And once a month as well, I have a guest speaker come onto that coaching call. So last month I had Jack Beaumont on, and next week I'm going to have Kat Copeland coming on, who won gold in London 2012 Olympics in a lightweight double scull. So absolutely incredible athlete, a huge bank of knowledge, rows incredibly well. And yeah, what's so useful about sort of this resource is that you might have a coach already, or learning online, and yeah, you may be hearing the same cues, same sorts of feedback, but when you get different coaches give you different bits of feedback, it can just resonate with you a little bit more, or there might be a question or something that we go through that's just going to click with you that little bit more, in terms of learning more about the rowing stroke and actually how to row really, really well. So yeah, it's a fantastic resource. It's completely free, and yeah, just get involved, get better at rowing. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind commenting, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff, really helps out the channel, just helps it grow, really helps me out. And if you've got any questions, yeah, pop them in, and I'll be sure to answer them. potentially in a future video as well, and I can go through that in more detail. But yeah, thanks.